In this video, I'll be offering my thoughts on Wotancraft's Pilot 7 shoulder bag. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be giving you my review of the 7-litre version of Wotancraft's upgraded Pilot shoulder bag. Now initially when Wotancraft reached out I was a bit hesitant about reviewing a bag. A bag is such a personal thing to the photographer, the way that they like to work, the kit that they use, and oftentimes just the shoot that they'll be doing on that day can help them decide which bag they're going to use. Now personally I've got several bags that get taken out depending on the needs that I have for a particular shoot. So rather than try to generalize about this bag or try to cover every possible use case for it, I'll start with a quick look at the bag physically and then move on to what I use a bag of this size for and how it's been in those situations during my use. And hopefully seeing how I've used the bag will help you decide if it's something for you or not. Now, as I mentioned, Wotancraft did send this bag over for testing, but they don't get any input on the review and they don't even get to see it before it goes live. Now, I was given the option to take a look at any size within the upgraded Pilot series, but I settled on the 7-litre version because it's most similar to the Think Tank Retrospective 6 that I've basically used and abused for the past 7 or 8 years, and that meant that it would be perfect for days out on the town with my wife, for family travel, and for my bread and butter couple and family sessions here in Korea. So I'll drop a link to Wotancraft's page about the rest of the series below so that you can see how they differ, but in this video I'll be focusing on the one that I have experience with, which is the 7-litre version. Wotancraft uses 500D canvas in the bags for this series and it really looks and feels great. Now they say that it will take on a bit of a weathered appearance over time, but after several months of use now, mine looks pretty much the way it did when it came out of the package. Now the fabric has also been coated to repel water, and on the couple of days where I've taken it out in, let's say, less than ideal weather, it's kept my gear safe and dry. Now of course it's not waterproof by any stretch of the imagination, but in light rain I've had absolutely no issues at all. Now I'm quite a simple packer when it comes to shoulder bags, as I tend to use them when I know that I need to be nimble or when I'll be moving around a lot. So I usually just have my gear as well as a couple of spare batteries and memory cards, but I have done a couple of shoots where I've tried to make use of some of the additional storage that the bag offers. Now under the flap at the front there is this zipped compartment with a couple of stretchy mesh pockets inside, and I've used that to hold my car keys and my wireless microphones at times, but I imagine that travelers might hold something like cash, passport, your hotel key, something like that in the front there. Personally, I just find myself dropping my batteries and memory cards into the larger section of that pocket so I have easy access when I need them. I found the two little side pockets handy for carrying something like my Insta360 or my DJI Osmo on certain shoots. Now, on other bags with larger side pockets, I'll usually carry my water bottle or a hot shoe flash for easy access, but I think that the 10-litre version of this bag might be a little bit better suited to that. With gear inside this bag, it's just a little too tight to be squeezing large items like that into the side of the bag. Now, the last pocket is on the back, and it's one of these sort of flat, thin pockets where you can store things that you don't need very often, something like a passport while you're traveling, hotel documents, that sort of thing. Now, as I said, I'm a fairly simple packer when it comes to shoulder bags, as I prefer to keep things very lightweight and easy to move around with on a long day's shooting. But Wotancraft did send over a couple of accessories for this bag that might be interesting to some of you, so I want to quickly show those before we get on to how I use the bag. Firstly, there are a couple of pouches that can either be attached to the loops on the front of the bag with these little clips here, or they can be used as bags in their own right with the straps that are included with them. Now, these are about the right size for carrying things like pens and a notebook, maybe cash or an ID while you're traveling. They'd also be good for throwing in your action camera, your cables, extra memory, extra batteries, that sort of thing, and just keeping them separate from the rest of your equipment. Now, there's also a divider to allow a tablet to be stored in the back of the bag, and I borrowed a friend's iPad mini for a quick test and it fits snugly in the back of the bag, but thankfully this divider can actually be removed and left at home if you don't need it, because for somebody like me who doesn't own anything that would actually fit in it, it's great to just not have that in the bag. There's also a Velcro on cable organizer for those who like to carry things like pens, extra charging cables, or even memory cards and have them really well organized within the bag. You can use these little stretchy straps to hold them on and keep them in place, and that's a nice touch for people who really like to organize their gear in the field, unlike people like me who just sort of toss it in the front of the bag and be done with it. Now, Finally, there's the tripod straps on the bottom of the bag. Now, personally, I don't use these on any of the shoulder bags that I have, and that's basically because I don't have a tripod that's small enough where it would make sense. Now, I'll only end up impaling somebody that I walk by or getting a really sore shoulder by the end of the day because of my large and heavy tripod. But if you do have, say, a small tabletop tripod or a small travel tripod, you could definitely store that below the bag without any issues. So there's a quick rundown of the bag, and I'll also put, as I said, a link to Wotancraft's product page below if you'd like to go into a little more granular detail about all the features of this bag. As a working photographer who shoots with a variety of different clients, I've got several bags at my disposal for the different situations that I find myself in. Now, for example, I'm going to use a very different kit when I photograph the excavators for Volvo construction equipment than I am when I photograph a young couple for their pre-wedding portraits. Now, Wotancraft quotes the size of this bag as being suitable for one body and two lenses, but in my experience the Fujifilm X cameras and lenses tend to be small enough that you can fit a little bit more in most bags than the manufacturers tend to quote. Now, with a small bag like this, I'm considering shorter shoots that don't need a lot of equipment or personal days out with my family, and typically this involves 1 or 2 bodies and 3 to 4 prime lenses for me. At present, I'm using Fujifilm's X-H2S bodies for my client work, and with this bag, a single X-H2S and a 3' setup fits absolutely perfectly, and I get easy access to all my kit. But when I'm working with a client, I always take a second body in case one goes down during the shoot or I need to be switching quickly between 2 prime lenses. Now, adding a second body of that size with a lens attached really isn't possible with this bag, so I found myself wrapping the second body in a microfiber pouch and just tucking it away on top of the other gear until I arrive at my shoot. And then I'm going to have one body in hand at all times anyway, so the second one can get a lens attached and just sit back in the bag comfortably so I can switch easily. Now, if you're using smaller bodies like the XT or the XE series, they'll fit much more neatly in this small bag. Now, with the XH2S, it just has a bit of a larger grip, and you can't really fit 2 bodies comfortably in this bag. With the depth of this bag as well, it's probably better suited to larger zoom lenses than it is to the prime kit that I use. Now, 2 Fujifilm bodies, the XF 16 to 55mm and the XF 50 to 140mm would fit really well in here, I imagine. Now, larger primes like the XF 90mm or consumer zooms like the 70 to 300mm are also going to make good use of the vertical space in the bag. And for my uses though, I wrap each of my prime lenses in a microfiber cloth and then just stack them on top of each other to make better use of the vertical space in the bag. Now, for my corporate events, I usually take a lot more gear than I would for working with a private client, because I'll often need several other lenses at different times during the day, as well as a speed light or a larger light, and even my laptop at a lot of shoots. So I drop all of that excess gear into my Think Tank rolling bag, and then I take this Wotancraft bag for when I'm walking around the event. This little bag has a couple of handy features for that exact purpose. Now, the first thing is this loop on the back of the bag that slides over the handle of a rolling bag and allows you to transport it easily. Also, the shoulder strap can be easily removed with the 2 little clips on the side so that it's not dangling off your bag as you move around. While we're talking about the shoulder strap, I'll say this. It's the best design strap that I've used on any of the bags I've had to date. It has these little spinning sections that mean that it never gets tangled, which is a constant struggle with every other shoulder bag that I've used in the past. And there's also this single action clasp that allows you to adjust the length of the strap really easily. While that's a great design and a nice touch, honestly, you'll probably only ever use it once unless there are multiple people sharing the bag. What I do appreciate about the design though is that it relieves you of all the faff of adjusting those complex strap systems, and it doesn't seem to slip over time, which means you don't have to be constantly readjusting it when you put more or less gear in the bag like you do with a lot of other systems. But back to corporate events. Now, once I get to the event, I can park my roller in a dark corner, attach my 2 cameras and primary lenses to my black wrapper double strap, and then I can put a couple of additional lenses and a hot shoe flash into the pilot and have those ready for when I need them. And this allows me to rotate lenses easily and pull out the flash when I need it without having to carry around too much gear with me on a long day. In this respect, it's been a fantastic bag. Now, in the past, and this is entirely on me, I've always found myself either overpacking a larger shoulder bag or just taking my rolling bag and having to run back and forth to it all day long. So corporate events are definitely a type of shoot where I'll be making use of this bag going forward. It's basically the perfect size to take that little bit of extra kit that I need. Now, the other thing that helps with long corporate shoots or even longer portrait sessions is just how lightweight the bag is. Now, on paper, it's 840 grams with the strap and the dividers installed, which might not seem like a huge difference with some other bags, but it's basically like taking a lens out of your bag and then walking around all day long. So you definitely feel it at the end of a long day. Finally, one of my favorite features of the bag is something that may not interest everybody, and perhaps I get just a little bit too excited about, but Wotancraft has included a fidlock clasp on all of the bags in this series. Now, I've got several cycling products with fidlock now, and honestly, I wish it was the standard everywhere that it would make sense. Now, if you haven't seen a fidlock clasp before, essentially it's a pair of magnets that snap together really reliably in almost any direction, while only allowing one direction of movement to actually open the clasp. Basically, what you can guarantee is that the bag won't accidentally come open, and that it's really easy to close without even looking down. So a big kudos for this one, Wotancraft. It's the sort of thing that really makes a difference to someone who opens and closes their bags dozens of times at any given shoot, and is usually moving through crowds of people where the potential to spill gear out is really high. So as you can hopefully see, this isn't one of those bags that has any glaring oversights. It's well thought out and well constructed, and maybe even too much so for somebody who packs as simply as I do. But it does have plenty of features and modular accessories that allow it to really be customized to the way that you want to use your bag. And so far, this bag has held up really well to the daily abuse that I've subjected it to, and has kept my gear safe at every turn. So while I don't benefit from a lot of the additional design features and the modularity, I do love the quality of the fabric, the fidlock clasp, as I said, and the design of the strap. Now, those little details make it stand out among the other bags that I've used. If you like the look of these bags and you like to customize things to the way that you work, I'd say there's really nothing to worry about except which size you're going to need for the gear that you're hoping to carry. So hopefully this review has given you a good look into what this bag is like to use and if it might be fit for your uses. But please do let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.